Hello, this is Mr. Jared, and in this video tutorial, we are going to be 3D modeling this object in SOLIDWORKS. So the two things that I'd like to look at first are where my origin is, and that is dead center of basically the entire thing. And the second thing is my units, and this one is in mmgs. So we have a lot of solid numbers, no decimal places other than 9.5 right here. So looking close at this, we actually see that we have a circle. Okay, maybe another circle that is used and then trimmed. Two circles out here, that's probably trimmed. And then we have some big arcs. So an arc, another big arc, and then a whole bunch of angled lines. So I'm assuming that these angled lines are going to be parallel for one another because there's a measurement, not a degrees between the two. So you can kind of see that. And then you can actually see there's some construction lines. So construction line here, construction line there. So what that construction line tells me, what this construction line tells me, is that this line itself and this line itself, they actually, if they were to continue, were to go right back to my origin. So meaning they are coincident with my origin. So these construction lines just kind of show me meaning. They don't necessarily need to be there, but they show me some meaning. Okay, this long one that's going through the whole entire middle, that basically says that this center point and the origin are horizontal from one another. And it's also used to place this line. Okay, so that's for 15 degrees and that's 25 degrees. That's the same thing here with this vertical one. Okay, it's helpful to place those lines. So some of these construction lines we will be putting in, others we will not. And then you see it says all fillets has a radius of 6 and it's 9 different places. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's a whole bunch of them. Okay, so I'm going to pull this to my other screen, and in SolidWorks, I'm going to make a new part, and we will be sketching on the front plane. So before you actually start to sketch, you do want to change your units and make sure they are mmgs. My computer defaults to inches, so change them to mmgs and then sketch on the front plane. And you can start by just using the normal circle tool and make two circles right off of our origin. You can actually zoom out, and over here to the right, we can draw two more circles. And then we can start to dimension them. So this inside circle actually has a radius, or sorry, a diameter of 22. The inside one over here is 16, so it's a little bit smaller. And the outside ones get trimmed, so you can't dimension them yet. But what you can do is, if you hit escape, you can actually zoom in and make sure that the center of this circle, or these two sets of circles, and the origin, so holding shift and select the origin, are horizontal from one another. Okay, so they're straight across. Now what we can actually do is dimension the distance between the two of them, and that is 86. So that kind of places those two circles over there on the right to the correct spot that they need to be. Okay, so I'll shrink this up because it just looked a little too big. Now from here, you can go in a whole bunch of different directions. What I like to do is actually draw those two big pieces so I can kind of see what everything looks like. So I'm going to get my center point arc, and the center point is my origin. You can actually just look at the measurements and see that. I'll start down here, kind of work my way up, and that kind of comes over to here. Same thing again, goes somewhere about here to somewhere about here. Okay, so that kind of gives me an idea of what things are. Now, when you're looking at that picture, you can see there's a shape in this area. I'll pull that back over here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. This opening shape right here in this area, the inside arc is actually that circle that we drew around the origin, that bigger circle. Okay, so right now my lines are way out here. I need to move them in. Okay, so we can dimension these two arcs that we just did. Radius is 64 and 48, and they will slide in, and that'll help us actually draw this stuff. Well, let's dimension these. So that inside one is much, much smaller than this. That's actually only 48. So you see how that drug it way in. And the outside one, that is 64. There we go. So that looks more realistic. Okay. Now I'll use my line tool. I'm going to select this dot, kind of come up here somewhere, hit escape, hit my line tool again, kind of click this circle. And actually, before you click it, I never noticed this before, so this is rather nice. You see it kind of gives you a whole bunch of different projections, and this one projection actually has it taking it right to the origin. We don't want to take it all the way to the origin, but we do want to take it to this circle. And I'm interested to see when we do that, what it actually did was it made it concentric, or not concentric, sorry, coincident with the origin already. So it really saved us a step. I've never noticed it doing that before, so that's pretty nice. Almost made it look like I know what I'm doing. So let's get the line tool and let's try that again. Let's see if it actually does it here too. So if we get the line tool, yeah, it does. How about that? So we'll bring this down to this circle. Okay. Now I'm going to delete that. You can keep it, but I'm going to delete it just in case some of you did not do that and you're just kind of cycling back to the video itself. So I'll just show you on this one if you didn't do it. Okay. And then my line tool, and the line tool down here does not actually get connected to this. It just kind of comes over here somewhere. Okay. So this circle is a little bit smaller. And we have two horizontal lines in here. So one of those horizontal lines comes off of this endpoint. The other horizontal line comes off of the circle itself and goes to this circle. Okay, and notice how it wants to make them tangent. I'm going to hit escape and try this again because I do not want it to do that. So maybe if I go from that one to this one, nope, it still did it. All right, so here's the trick. If we don't click the circle and we just go inside, we can kind of outsmart SolidWorks. Since we're going to be trimming, it doesn't really matter. You know, we can trim this stuff off. So let's get the trim tool. I have it set to trim to closest. I'll click there, click on this one. Notice how I'm just trimming around. And then if we go back here, we can also trim these. And that's pretty much it as far as trimming goes. So let's fix up all this stuff over here on the right first before we mess with this mess. So this arc, now we can actually dimension, and this has a radius of 15. The distance between these two lines, so make sure they're both horizontal first. If you don't do that, you'll actually have degrees. So we want a distance of 19. And then it says from the origin to the bottom line is 9.5. So it's basically saying that it's centered. Okay, 9.5. Notice you don't need your construction line in there for that if you just go from the origin. You can put a construction line in though if that makes you feel better. Okay. Down here, this big circle, that has a radius of 18. The distance in between here is going to be 12, but if they are not parallel, you're not going to get distance. So I'll just kind of show you. See how I have a degrees right now? Okay, I don't want a degrees. So I'm going to actually have to make those parallel first. Okay, so hit escape. Let's select these two and make them parallel. And we'll make these parallel as well. All right, now we can go ahead and dimension them. So in between both of them, I believe is the same number. Yep, it's 12. Okay. And down here, if you remember back, this line actually is coincident already with that origin. That is key. If you do not have that, you need to make sure that this line, holding in shift, and this origin are selected and they are coincident. Okay, make sure you do that. So I did not do that up here. Remember I deleted that just to kind of show you. So I'm going to do that now. I'll select that line and my origin, and I'll make them coincident. And that is key. So that one continues on. Right? Now, they can still kind of move around because we didn't do anything with the degrees yet. I'm going to make sure that this inside line kind of slid over to the right a little bit. And I'm going to draw two construction lines. Get my line tool and hit for construction. Okay, and I'll just start over here somewhere. It really doesn't matter, maybe off my part. Okay, and I'm going to draw to my construction or to my origin and then all the way up out here. Okay, I'll make sure that this is a vertical line, and I'll make sure that this construction line is a horizontal line. Now that allows me to actually use those lines to do my degrees. Okay, now since I didn't have any other vertical lines, I do need to draw this in. Some of you from past videos or just from basically understanding SolidWorks, you might understand that you don't even need to really this horizontal one because you could use any horizontal line. Like this line up here would have worked fine. But I just did it just to kind of show you. So I'm going to go from that construction line to this line, and that is 15 degrees. And that should fix up the bottom here. And then if we do that to this portion, and this one is 25, they should fully define this upper part. So now that is fully defined, the entire thing. So let's go to the Features tab and Extrude. And this has a material thickness of 7. And you might be saying, well, hey, didn't you forget to fill it? Yeah, I did. So you can actually fill it your sketch, or you can fill it the 3D. It doesn't really matter. Since this is a sketching unit, however, I will go back and actually do this in the sketch. So I apologize. Let's go to the Sketch tab and fill it. And this is a radius of 6. And just look around and find all the spots. Remember, there are 9 of them. So all the inside pieces here, and then the outside pieces wherever they pretty much transition into something else. Okay, so that's 9 of them. You can actually see over here. So there's 9 different fillets. For the perimeter, that is 6. And we'll hit the green check. Okay, now we can go ahead and hit extrude. And that has a material thickness of 7. And our Z is negative, so we're going to go backwards. Green check. Change our material. And the material that we have is 7079 alloy, which is not a default. So if we hit edit material, we can go into this folder and try to find that. And since that is not a steel, we need to go into the aluminum folder. And I bet we'll find it in there. Okay. So aluminum folder, 7079 alloy. And apply and close. Go to evaluate and mass properties. You should get a mass of 102.07 grams. Your X should be positive, your Y should be positive, your Z should be negative. If you got that, you can save it, move on to the next one. If you didn't, please problem solve and figure out where you went wrong.